welcome to HITC Sport. And right, in many ways, I pity the England national team. For the fans, supporting them at tournaments while trying to balance your club ties, it must be very confusing. When you just spend the entire season wrapped up in borderline hatred towards other English players, it's a bit awkward when you then have to cheer them on with the national team. I'm going to take a look at one goal or incident where the English fans of Premier League clubs were a bit conflicted on how to react. Arsenal, Harry Kane versus Tunisia 2018. The 2018 World Cup must have been torture for Arsenal fans. This was a tournament where they were forced to celebrate goals from Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Kieran Trippier and a penalty from Eric Dyer. For a fan base who proudly proclaims that they hate all things Tottenham, they were almost forced to become Spurs fans for the summer. But you know what? I actually asked some Arsenal fans about this myself.
Did you feel dirty celebrating the goals of Harry Kane and Dele Alli?
You know what? The first game, when Harry Kane scored the winner, and I was jumping up and I was going mad and that. And then I turned around and I was like, hold on, that's Kane. Oh man, I've got some, like, you know, start to feel uncomfortable like that.
I felt a little bit and I had to have a little scrub afterwards. And it was kind of, you get caught in the moment and then immediately after you kind of look at the telly and go, shit, Harry Kane scored that. Oh, need to have a little rub down.
Poor Arsenal fans, that tournament must have been absolute hell. Aston Villa, Gareth Barry versus Kazakhstan 2009. Aston Villa fans might have forgiven him now, but back in the late 2000s they were not happy with Gareth Barry. Actually, they would probably have loved to see him slip on a bar of soap in the shower. He'd spent a year pining for Liverpool, and after all that, just walked out for a big bag of cash at the Etihad. So 1 week later, when he popped up with a World Cup qualifying goal against Kazakhstan, half the Villa fan base were probably ready to switch off the telly. They were hardly going to celebrate that. Bournemouth, Callum Wilson versus the USA 2018. Okay, most Bournemouth fans were probably proud to see Callum Wilson score for England, battering in a debut goal in a 3-0 win against USA in November 2018. But some Bournemouth fans must have felt a pit of dread in their stomach every time Wilson scores a goal for England. Their chances of keeping him just diminishes. Keeping hold of an England international scores in his debut, when you have a stadium no bigger than a Swedish bathtub, it's pretty damn hard. Brighton, WILFRIED, ZAHA versus Romania 2013. Okay, dipping into the under 21s here. Crystal Palace versus Brighton is a weird rivalry, but it is a rivalry. And WILFRIED ZAHA does his fair share of ripping Brighton apart, like when he destroyed them in the 2013 Championship playoffs. He also described comparisons with their Will Buckley as ridiculous. It's fair to say those fans probably don't like him much. No, he never scored for the senior team, but he had the nation excited after a superb solo goal against Romania for the under 21s. Not Brighton fans though, they probably felt like getting sick in their mouth. Burnley, Alan Shearer versus France 1992. And you know what? There's not too many England goals that Burnley wouldn't have celebrated. When Kieran Trippier nearly took the net off in a World Cup semi-final, they probably nearly lost their collective shit. But it's never nice for them to see a Blackburn player score. So let's go for when Alan Shearer was breaking into the England team while at Ewood Park. Chelsea, Steven Gerrard versus Sweden 2006. Listen, Chelsea in the mid-2000s did not take rejection well. One of the few clubs in world football with a bottomless pit of money at the time. They were used to getting what they wanted. The word no did not register in their vocabulary. It's a bit like if you'd refused world-renowned prima donna Paris Hilton a drink. Considering she lived life with the biggest silver spoon on planet Earth lodged in her mouth, amongst other things, she was used to getting what she wanted, and Chelsea were no different. So when Steven Gerrard turned them down in 2005, choosing to stay with Liverpool, those fans immediately made him public enemy number one, spending the next 10 years chanting about him, convincing themselves he wasn't a patch on Frankie Lamps. Remember them reveling in his 2014 slip? And just 1 year on from that rejection, Steven Gerrard heads England into a 2-1 lead against Sweden at the 2006 World Cup. Again, I'm sure Chelsea fans did celebrate that one, but it must have felt like kissing their cousin. Crystal Palace, Jesse Lingard versus Panama 2018. Whenever Crystal Palace fans ever lay their eyes on Jesse Lingard, they're probably sent into wild convulsions. Cue the vomiting and excess diarrhea, because this is the man who volleyed home an extra time winner to deprive them of the FA Cup in 2015. This man is single-handedly responsible for their biggve heartbreak of the century. So when he popped up with a 25-yard effort against Panama in the World Cup just 2 years later, sure, Palace fans probably jumped out of their chairs, but I've no doubt they immediately felt like having a bath. Everton, Daniel Sturridge versus Wales 2016. It's weird to think that any England fans were celebrating during the mess of Euro 2016. He only won one game in the entire tournament, and even that was just a last-minute win against Wales. But when Daniel Sturridge did poke in that last gasp strike, England fans celebrated as if they won the goddamn World Cup. But Sturridge was an Everton enemy, and he scored 4 goals against them for Liverpool, absolutely tearing their defence to shreds. I'm guessing, like the rest of the country, Everton fans were probably dancing around the pub in delight, swinging their beer bellies around like goddamn pinatas. But must have felt all kinds of wrong. Leicester, Harry Kane versus Scotland 2017. Leicester fans do not like Harry Kane. Maybe his bitterness considering they never saw the best of him on loan, or the fact he scored a hat-trick to nearly relegate them in 2015. Maybe it was him being a direct title challenger in 2016, or the fact he was keeping Jamie Vardy out of the England team. Or perhaps it was because they had to watch him score 4 goals in a 6-1 win at Leicester Stadium in May 2016. It was just embarrassing. What a shameful way to end the season for a reigning Premier League champion. This guy had essentially made a mockery of your ground, using it as his own private bathtub. So when Kane banged in a couple, including a last-minute free kick and a 2-2 draw against Scotland just 2 months later, yeah, most of the nation probably went wild, breathing in a sigh of relief. But Leicester fans, they must have felt very, very dirty. Liverpool, Wayne Rooney versus Croatia 2004. Liverpool fans do not like Wayne Rooney, and why would they? But back in 2004 was the height of their hatred towards this man. Not only was he a loudmouth Everton player, he was on the verge of a switch to Man United. And let's not forget, he spent that summer selling his story to the Sun. The only way he could have been more offensive to Liverpool fans would be if he chose to spit in their grandmother's face. So that summer, how would they have reacted to his performances in Euro 2004? Battering 4 goals across 2 games against Switzerland and Croatia. I wouldn't be surprised if hardcore Liverpoolians sat there in the pub, stony-faced, refusing to even acknowledge the goals. Man City, Wayne Rooney versus Uruguay 2014. Again, sticking with the Rooney theme. If you spend 13 years of your life in Manchester United colours, hoovering up medals, scoring against City 12 times, they're not gonna like you very much. They're probably sick to their teeth of seeing that bicycle kick replayed every 6 minutes on television. Those fans probably still wake up sweating about his last-minute header to knock them out of the League Cup semi-final in 2010. These guys likely despise all things Wayne Rooney. And yeah, when he finally scored his first World Cup goal, 11 years after his England debut, equalising against Uruguay in 2014, those fans must have been caught at a crossroads. On one hand, this was a potentially massive goal for the country. On another hand though, this man had spent over a decade embodying everything that they hated in a human being. Man United, Cristiano Ronaldo versus England 2006. Alright, this one isn't a goal, but still. Remember 2006 World Cup quarter-final against Portugal where it all kicked off? Castration is a medical procedure, best left in the hands of trained professionals in the safety of a surgery theatre. What you don't want is a fat Rooney trying to do it himself in the middle of a sweaty pitch and substituting medical utensils with a size 10 foot. Poor old Ricardo Carvalho, no wonder he wasn't able to impregnate his wife. Clearly, that was a sending off offence. Fine, Man United fans could probably agree with that, but the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo helped and then winked to the bench, he instantly became the most hated man in England. This guy had just crushed your World Cup dreams. On one hand, Red Mancunians probably wanted to queue up to punch him in the face, but they also had loyalty towards arguably the club's biggest star. I don't know, I'd say they were conflicted. Newcastle, Jordan Pickford versus Colombia 2018. Remember when England finally won a World Cup penalty shootout? Every Englishman lost his head. What about the Geordies though? Because the spot kick hero was Jordan Pickford, a Mackham who openly revelled in Newcastle's relegation just 2 summers earlier. Most Geordies would happily see this man's career end up in the same gutter reserved for his former club, so celebrating the pinnacle moment of his life. Oh, they must have felt a bit sick. Norwich, Darren Bent versus Wales 2011. Alright, for Norwich, there haven't been too many controversial moments. I suppose Darren Bent broke through at Ipswich Town in the early 2000s, banging home over 50 goals in less than 150 games, so he's probably not the most popular man in Norwich. I'm sure he's devastated. Anyway, when he scored in a 2-0 win against Wales during Euro 2016 qualification back in March 2011, then yeah, maybe Norwich fans might have been confused what to do. Sheffield United, Carlton Palmer versus San Marino 1991. For Sheffield United, I can't really find too many conflicted moments. Carlton Palmer scored against San Marino back in 1991, while he was on the books of Sheffield Wednesday, so maybe that one, I guess. Southampton, Adam Lallana versus Slovakia 2016. Okay, originally I chose Peter Crouch's goal against Croatia just 2 years after walking out of Southampton 20 minutes after relegation. But no, the real answer is the only goal of Sam Allardyce's reign of terror, starting out on a road that would end up in a World Cup semi-final under a different manager. That 95th minute strike back in September 2016 probably had the nation on their feet. But Southampton fans, this guy was a former captain who dumped his club 2 years earlier for Liverpool. They royally despised the guy. Tottenham, Sol Campbell versus Portugal 2004. Ah yes, the goal which spawned this entire video. Remember when Sol Campbell thought he'd headed a last minute winner against Portugal the night England were knocked out of Euro 2004 on penalties? The decision not to award this goal, it almost unified the nation in their combined hatred towards the referee. But think about it, right? Campbell is a figure of disgust for most Spurs fans after he joined Arsenal on freebie in 2001. So Spurs fans jumping up and down and hugging their friends because of this goal, it just doesn't make sense. Watford, Ashley Young versus Wales 2011. Watford Watford fans really that conflicted about anything? I suppose they haven't forgiven Ashley Young for walking out on the midway through a relegation season. He scored the only goal against Wales at Wembley. I'd say 1 or 2 Watford fans with a grudge might have stayed in their seats. West Ham, Frank Lampard versus Germany 2010. Listen, some regions of England probably aren't all that patriotic. West Ham though, Christ, those lads think their club won the World Cup. So when Frank Lampard bagged in a disallowed goal against Germany at the 2010 World Cup, they would have been on their feet. Despite the fact they booed this man while he was at West Ham, booed him even more when at Chelsea, and this was just 3 years after he released a book describing how the feeling was very much mutual. West Ham fans celebrating a Lampard goal. They probably spent that night scrubbing every fibre of their skin with bleach. Wolves, Julian Lescott versus France 2012. Julian Lescott is probably not very liked at Wolves anymore. Having quit them back in 2006, when he spent his only Premier League season out injured, he then went on to play for anyone in the Midlands that wasn't them. Anyway, his only England goal came against France at Euro 2012. A big goal, yes, but probably didn't do much for Wolves fans. Anyway, that's the end of it, lads. Let me know what goal conflicted you if you're an English fan. Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.